Volume. Hello and Namaste everyone. I'm Ashish Singh and I welcome you all on the World of Marketing webcast. As you know that we always bring something new to this weekly webcast. And World of Marketing is a place of change makers. The people who love to explore in everything and dare to ask the questions and change the status quo. It's a community that is beyond networking. So today we have someone who is a change maker. But before that, I have an interesting story to begin with. A small story. Nokia refused Android and Yahoo refused Google. Story 2. Facebook acquired WhatsApp and Instagram. Myntra acquired Jabong. Flipkart acquired Myntra and now Walmart acquired Flipkart. Story over. Lesson learned. Become powerful that your competitors become your allies. Reach the top position and then eliminate the competition. And third, embrace change. One more story. Colonel Sanders started KFC. US के छोड़िए यहाँ. Colonel Sanders started KFC at the age of 65. Jack Ma, who started get a job at KFC, who could not get a job at KFC, founded Alibaba. Everyone knows Alibaba. Story over. Lesson learned. Age is just a number, and only those who keep trying, keep on trying, succeed. Last but not the least, Enzo Ferrari, the founder of Ferrari, he insulted a tractor owner, and that tractor owner founded Lamborghini. And one more last. India's oldest political party said once in 2013, एक चाय वाला क्या देश चलाएगा? A tea seller cannot run a country. Now that tea seller, that chai wala, is running the country and was one of the most influential leader and the Honorable Prime Minister of India. Lesson learned. Never underestimate anyone ever. Success is the best revenge. Number third, take risk. And number four, embrace change. So, it was a forwarded message I received in my college group, and today's topic in this context, I got the magic word risk. That is the word which makes a normal person an entrepreneur, a change maker. So, Swati will tell you about the guest who is our moderator, the person who has changed the business dynamics, a multi-talented marketer. I have got some information about it. Like he started his career in an RNC. Did the marketing for an insurance company, then became a marketing director of a company where he handles global accounts. He traveled the world and then decided to explore his passion into entrepreneurship. And he opened a chain of outlets based on e-commerce. So over to Swati. Yes, but last thing, today we are doing also poll on Twitter and Facebook. Details are mentioning on the screen. So you please, I'm asking the audience, if please participate in this poll on Twitter and Facebook. Yeah, over to Swati. And I welcome to Mr. Santosh Kumar, the multi-talented marketer and the change maker. Yes, Swati.
Thank you, Ashish. And please welcome today in our show a man who used creativity, psychology, technology to create brand equity and revenue growth. He started his career in advertising and then moved into the business side of insurance company, and then moved into another domain of marketing in IT sector. And one fine day, he decided to quit everything and open a meat shop, which was chemical free. That was his passion, and it was a calling for him. His marketing skills took him to another level of his venture. In 1 year, he raised the venture to revenue growth of 2 crores. It is indeed a success story. He also realized to keep his passion alive, it's extremely important for him to merge into a larger purpose. And so he merged his company to a larger firm which was doing had a similar interest, Fresh to Home. He's now Chief Marketing Officer of Fresh to Home and FTH Daily. Please welcome on show Mr. Santosh Kumar. Welcome, Santosh.
Thanks, Swati.
It is so nice to have you here. And it's wonderful to hear about your uh, daring escapades with your career. We would
Yes.
love to hear and learn a lot about how to take risks.
Right. Yeah. So go ahead.
I would like to, sure. So we would like to start from the time when you started your journey as an advertiser. Um, you moved from an advertising background to a business background of an insurance, uh, client side, which is an insurance domain. Now, I would like to understand from you, since you see both sides of the business, how do
Fine.
advertisers perceive business, and how do business people perceive advertisers?
Yeah. So this is very similar between two siblings. No, how do two siblings live in the same house? Right? They always fight with each other. Right? Yeah. It's not anything different. So, the difference between the client and the advertising agency people. So outwardly there is a lot of respect and all that. This is from my personal experience, and I do not have any intention of pointing fingers at anyone in this. Okay, so just my experience. So there are these advertising agency guys think that, oh, clients do not understand marketing, clients do not understand communication, and the reverse is also true. So sometimes people think that, in fact, I have also said, when I was in advertising, oh, they don't even understand their business. Of course they understand their business, that's the reason why they are there, and I am in advertising, right? Okay,
That's
so
right.
yeah, so the belief is generally, I don't know whether it comes from a kind of a the mental state of perhaps a little lower level or whatever. This was what my experience was, but the thing is, I was smarter than the client, right? But I think I was smarter than the client. But the thing is, each person has their own benefits, advantages, skill sets, right? I think we should respect each other, respecting for the skill sets that the client has, respecting for the skill sets that the advertising agencies have. So I'll give you a story, right? So when I was in advertising, and then when I moved to MetLife, which was my client, I used to service that, and then I came on board with the client. I used to think that I should behave in such a way that I was subjected to. So I will, do all kinds of things that I got from the client side. And I will not name the agency, but then I called the agency person the next day and then said, yeah, I want this creative brief and I want the creative out in 2 days. And then he said, it's not possible, and cut the phone. So my ego just dropped, thud, it went into, it just crash landed into the ground. And then later I realized, so the idea is not about being against each other, but ultimately we will have to give respect, we'll have to manage the other party in such a way that it gives the best results for our brand or whatever the purpose is. So I
So
guess,
you
right.
so
Go ahead,
you
go ahead, please.
shifted from the advertising to the business side just to fill your ego to begin with.
Yeah,
What?
ego and little money as well.
Okay, great. So, so from the insurance, you served as a marketing director in insurance segment, and then you moved on to a totally different domain, which was IT. Um, how do you manage the transition? Because the whole dynamics is very different of two different markets.
That's
And
right.
how did you manage the transition?
So I'll just take us two steps back. One, and how I was inspired to join advertising itself was by when I was doing my MBA in Christ College. So there was this brilliant professor called Ijaz Hussain, right? So he used to paint this beautiful picture, this dreamland of advertising. When he used to talk, he never touched any of the the textbook, right? So he used to tell from his experience, because he was an advertising, he used to run advertising agencies, etc. So when he talked about advertising, so you could see that love and the dream that he was living, right, or he lived before. And that inspired us, a few of us, to go to advertising. So we are not taking anything else. And advertising at that point in time, I don't know about it right now, but it paid very poorly. But we took that plunge. Okay. And we did whatever, the rough and the smooth, everything, it comes with any job, I guess, isn't it? It's not just advertising. But learned quickly about various insights and various communication. And I think I am deeply indebted to my advertising experience for the kind of knowledge, for the kind of understanding of customers and insights, importance of psychology, etc. Then I moved to the client. So MetLife was my client. I used to service their account, and I joined MetLife, which is an insurance company, because they were looking for marketing people, and I was the first person in that schedule who joined the company.
Yeah, my question
MetLife.
was, how do you transit from insurance to IT?
Right. So I just wanted to say the trigger before that. That's the reason,
All
because
right.
then you will probably put it in perspective.
Right.
So insurance was at a boom. So I joined insurance at a boom period for insurance industry. And then there was a time when you could see the trends, you could see the kind of slowdown and various other things which are specific to, sometimes it happens specific to a particular industry, particular category. So we could see that, and a few of us could see that. And then that is when, and I always was fascinated with IT, because that was a completely different, so B2C India to B2B US and Europe, right, Western world. And that was an interest, and that passion also was, I mean, it was not really a passion, but then that interest was also generated by the fact that IT was a it used to pay very well, and it used to, there are a lot of people of there are lots of my friends who are working in IT as project managers and technical guys and stuff like that. And IT was this, again, a glamour world, beautiful offices, like that kind of buildings and all that. There is a lot of money growing inside and all that. But my major trigger or major area of interest was working with Fanish Murthy. So Fanish Murthy was heading iGate. He is the CEO of iGate then, and he was the poster boy of Indian IT industry. And then he was like a maverick marketeer and a great product enthusiast and stuff like that, right? So I remember that the interview that we had, from one of those video conferencing interviews that we had with Fanish Murthy. He was in California, I guess then. And then he asked me, "What do you know about IT?" I said, "I don't know anything anything about IT." So he said, "Yes, you are selected. Come over." So, yeah, hats off. I think he was one of those people who wanted to take a bet on fresh ideas, fresh thinking, and not the same old cut and dried IT kind of advertising or IT kind of communication. So,
So,
so that
so come with
that's
an
how it
empty
happened.
brain. If you want
Yeah,
to
yeah.
advertise, come with. So
Yeah,
you
my
have to
brain was
empty
by
your
default.
insurance brain.
I was lucky that my brain was anyway by default empty, so it was easy for me.
So do you think empty brain creates more creativity than the filled brain?
Actually, what you said is a very, very you have touched upon a very important philosophical topic, I guess. So you have read this book, right? Stay Hungry and Stay Foolish, right? So it's basically be open to things. So only when you have a certain amount of emptiness in this, so it's more of I think philosophical rather than I think probably practical. But I got your point. So you need to have a little bit of openness and little bit of unbiasedness, right? Neutralness, that neutrality of espousing and getting exposed to new things. I think would make a difference in what you want to do.
So you're basically everything when you're nothing.
Right, right, right.
You can be everything when you're nothing.
When
That's
you're
the
nothing, yeah, right, right.
all right.
You have a
Great.
world to
That's
achieve, right?
I have a wall.
wonderful thought. Yes, you
Yeah,
have
yeah.
the world to
Not
achieve.
from me. Yeah, yeah, not from me though.
Great. So you were in a very cushy job, globe trotting across the world,
Right.
traveling, doing marketing, where meeting people from different geographies, and you definitely were doing a very interesting transition from iGate to Capgemini. That you drove a brand with a purpose. So it was if everything was going extremely smooth, and then one fine day you just leave everything and open a meat shop.
I mean, what was
Right.
the
What drove
moment
you
you
to
got
that?
this idea? What was the moment you got this idea? Yes, I have to get it.
Right.
What
Okay.
moment? What moment?
So I don't know if it is a moment. I think there are a a few things that had come together to push me to spur me into doing what I did. Uh, the first one was, I guess, we have been doing this B2B marketing for the US and Europe clients. When I was in Capgemini, I used to
Any
head branding
any
as
other
well.
any other incident you want to share?
What incident? Yeah, yeah, I'll say that.
Yeah, yeah.
And of course, I mean, corporate is full of politics and stuff like that. So, but I was like, so one of the things that I always say is, you do not just do hard work, which is important, but you also do work very smart, which is,
That's right.
influencing the key influencers and various other things, your boss, all those kinds of things you have to do. And then in corporate you can't live, it's a fact of life, right? In
Exactly.
working in corporates. So but I was doing really good, right? So what happens is, after some time, there is this kind of a, probably meaninglessness, because there is no purpose. So selling IT solutions to clients abroad probably is not the best idea of a purpose for a human being, right? So there is a there is this emptiness or whatever, right? And that was the time when, and it was a B2B kind of a thing. So you know how the transaction, so especially a multi-million-dollar deal, it takes a long time for it to fructify. And you have
So
done this,
there was
and then
no
you have to,
instant.
and then you are actually in the dark, because salespeople then after that take cover from there, because they are there in the territory and stuff like that, right? So you are kind of detached from after what you have done, right? Though
Yes,
you get
yes.
these kinds of inputs, but then mostly indirect inputs and things like that. But no, that was, so there was something that was not as dynamic as it was. And
Okay.
before, when I was in MetLife, it used to be people of India, so you would know that and see immediate result or effect of what was done, right? So then so that was something that was, and also I was like, just crossing 40, and then we were also friends of mine and stuff like that. We're also thinking, we have to start business. And that is a time when starting a business was cool, right? And you had this term called startup. Earlier it used to be called business, now it is startup and all that, right? And startup was cool. And I thought, if we don't do it right now, when do you do it?
When
No, I don't want to
Right,
do it at 80s and all that,
right,
right?
right, right.
Right. So then that was a time when this brilliant company, Fresh to Home. So Fresh to Home started in 2015, right? So and then they have been doing these messaging, and I happened to receive some of these messaging, and that actually triggered this thought of that this is a great proposition. And I always believe that it has to have three corners that you have to fit in, for getting a brilliant product or a good business. So one is, of course, your purpose, right? And the purpose in this case was the social cause of giving good, unadulterated, uncontaminated food to people, right? Fresh to Home was
How
in
did you know that was your purpose within?
because see, then there were other people who were doing startups in AI, lots of tech, high tech, deep tech kind of companies. But I thought like IoT and artificial intelligence and augmented reality and all that. But I thought it is important to touch people somehow daily, as primary as something that they eat, right? Because you
Okay.
cannot get more basic than that, because your body
Yes,
is your body, and it's made of food that you eat, right?
that's right.
So,
Yes.
and if we can give, and I have lots of experience because I come from a coastal region as well, so I know about fish and I know how people treat things and stuff like that, right? So, so when it comes to, so that was the moment when I thought this business proposition is one scalable, and second, it affects the social. It's got some social cause. It has got some noble purpose attached to it,
Mhm.
not just and I think that is very important. Money is
Yes.
important, but a purpose that drives you, that spurs you into doing things despite all the hardships, because business is not easy, right? Despite all the hardships and all the struggles. So beyond money, I think there has to be one kind of a propeller in you, should have. And I think that would be this socially conscious kind of an outcome. So that was also there. And then thanks to Fresh to Home, so I've actually told Shan, who is the founder and the CEO of Fresh to Home, that I have stolen his messaging in my business, right?
That's
So
interesting.
I used to do
So,
that, yeah.
so obviously, entrepreneur journey is a roller coaster ride. You have your ups and you have your downs. You have your learnings. Um, how was it for you?
It was more of lows than ups, I guess. But no, right. So I had some brilliant partners, and so we had this target of making 30 crores in 3 years for the business,
Wow.
and we had this thing of that it has to be so. So the key thing is, um, I knew marketing and I knew communication. I was really bad at, I didn't, or really, I was clueless about the operations part of it or even product part of it. Right? How do you
Okay.
handle? How do you manage product, whole chain, and various other things, and then also the operations part of it. But I think that is something that because we can't be great in everything. So I think we should be great in at least two things,
Yeah.
then before starting some kind of a business. And then you have to have partners who have complementary skill sets. So I think that probably works the best. So there was another person who was good in food and HR, another person who was good in finance and operations. So three of us, and plus there was another person who was good in HR as well. So that is how we started. And so this so the highs were, so when you begin, right, when you begin, you're full of enthusiasm and you are just going out in the public and then begging for business, right? You do not have, so nothing is holding you back. So earlier you used to think about your ego, my stature in the company, in my stature, so I'm that, I'm this, I fly this, right, and all that. So you do not do that. But when you start your business, you don't mind begging, give me
Yes.
business, please buy my product, kind of a thing.
Yes.
So,
Become more
but
humble.
and very, very humble. So, because otherwise, you have to have, because that's the purpose, that's your goal, right? And customer feedback, when you say, right? So increase in metrics is one beautiful thing that you see. So when you at the end of the day, when you look at the numbers, so and when it grows every day. So I used to say it with a lot of pride that we beat our best numbers every day, right? In terms
Yeah.
of customer revenue
That's
numbers, right?
okay.
Right,
Okay.
we set a new benchmark every day, is what we used to say. So that was a big high. And then there was customer feedback when they say, uh, so here I want to narrate one interesting incident wherein, so as so earlier we used to source it from various people, okay? And then there were
Mhm.
customer complaints, etc. And then we went to Fresh to Home, because that was our like and asked them if they can supply stuff to us. So Centimeter bought it, the fish and meat and all that from Fresh to Home, and then customers were extremely happy, and then we didn't have to even handle a single complaint after that. And then it was our customer acquisition curve was going up. We also did lots of these kind of social media stuff, and that is another good high, right? When you
Yes.
see your efforts paving way for a better thing and all that immediately, and that's a beautiful experience to have.
Being a
Um,
marketer, how did you justify your marketing spend while doing a business?
so that is another thing. In when you are doing your business, when you are on your own, you become an expert in frugal spending, frugal activities. So otherwise, you might not think twice before asking for like $50,000 for something. So when you are running this, you will want it done in 100 rupees, right? So we used to
So you understood to respect your past clients who didn't give you enough funds for advertising.
yeah, right. Yeah, so then. So it keeps everything in perspective, right? So
Yeah.
I always tell my friends. So I think starting a business is a very very good thing to do. The reason being, even if it fails, even if it doesn't make too much money, but then the kind of learnings, experiences that you get not only makes you a good business guy or good marketing or whatever that area operations guy, but it also makes you a good person, right?
You
Right.
you become more closer to the nature and super soul. Is that?
That yeah, I mean, I think for you to become a super soul, if I'm not mistaken, I think Himalayas was the last destination that I read, I guess.
Oh. Just please make
Yeah.
my business grow.
So, but there are also hardships, at the end of the month when you have bills to pay. So you are wondering where it is coming from, because we were not very, as I said, that I was not very good operationally or even finances, right? So there were lots of mistakes that we have done, and then there was a lot of unnecessary cash that we have spent, and so there was always some kind of a struggle at the end of the thing to get that right. But then
Yeah, that
that is the beauty of the entire
beautiful
journey, right?
learning.
Right.
So,
So
so when do you think that to keep your passion alive, not let it die, the best way is to merge into a larger business which has similar interests?
right. So as I said, you shun your ego after a point in time, right? And then so there were two things that were happening at the same time, and a lot of other people were catching on to this idea of meat and
Chemical
fish,
free.
chemical free things and stuff like that, right? So there was always this threat of competition coming in, and of course there are two things that any entrepreneur does, right? Because you don't want to be doing the same thing. So we have invested in another outlet as well, and then expenses were also rising. But then the revenues, because it will take around 3 months for the revenues to get into like 10 lakh, whatever, 15 lakh category, right? So your operational expenses at that point in time is high. So then you look for funding, because you need to further this. You are not satisfied with just us, right? Just one or two, right? And
That's
then you
right.
look for funding, and then the other thing is, so these competition were also intense. Competition players were also coming intensely, and that is when I mailed to Shan, who's the CEO of Fresh to Home, saying,
Mm.
because anyway, this genesis came from Fresh to Home itself. So, and then as I said, that there's no ego, and also more importantly, you shun your shame. You become completely shameless, right? You ask whatever you want, right? And Shan said, "Yeah, I will think about it and various other things." But then I persisted, right? I persisted without anything, and then that is how this thing happened. And then we started meeting up, and then after like I think 5 rounds of things, then this came through. So Fresh to Home bought us over, and then I joined.
So how do you feel when your own, you're losing your brand into a larger thing, though it's for good and you're keeping a passion alive? Did you feel that you're letting your baby go?
Yeah, so that I have seen a lot of people going through that kind of an experience, and I think which for to an extent it might have been there, and then it was there actually more prominently or more pronounced with my partners perhaps.
Okay,
Um,
okay.
but as I said, no, I think the purpose trumps everything else. So the selfish interest of your brand and various other things, I think, got eclipsed by the idea of or the concept or the scope of furthering this and building this into a bigger purpose.
Great. So you're enjoying what you're doing now. You've transferred your passion into a job, right?
Yeah, I think that is the best way to work. Working for there is this beautiful thing about work-life balance, right? So early in my career, one of my subordinates were asking me this question. One of my subordinates was asking me this question. Where is my work-life balance? At that point in time, I probably could not articulate it very well, but
Okay.
I think there is nothing called work-life balance. You choose one, whatever. So ultimately, you are responsible for what you are, right? What you want to become, and I think you
That's right.
make the decision. And then if you're smart, I think you would be able to manage both. One is not as it's not that one is more important than the other or whatever, but it's how you manage both. So I don't think your business or the company or the CEO or your boss would be interested in to know what your fixed time schedules at home. I don't think anybody wants to know, right? Because everyone is getting paid for work to do. So I think at the end of it, if you are acing your work and if you are exceeding the expectations of what the outcomes is, I
Mhm.
think all are good.
Great. So once you have already achieved, and how do you find a purpose? I think what you said is once you find your purpose, then even if it's the balance is not there, you're happy, right? How do you find a purpose?
So I want to narrate this. There is one of the books, the Shiva trilogy, right, by Amesh Tripathi. In that, there is this incident. There is this thing where the Shiva asks one of those, I think, gods or Brihaspati or whatever, where do I find my purpose? How do I find my purpose? Right, and then he says that you do not find your purpose; the purpose finds you. Right. So I
Wonderful.
don't think
Yeah.
I have, yeah, I don't think, I think it's a beautiful thing because otherwise what happens is when people think and then they become really, really, depressed that I am not able to find a purpose, right? They've become
That's right.
depressed, and that actually works, the other way, right? Really the
That's right.
opposite way. Right.
That's right.
I think one needs to be open to things, and then one needs to be, of course, one needs to be out there observing things and then looking for. There are lots of solutions, right? There are lots of problems, looking for solutions in India and everywhere. So and that there would be a wavelength, there would be some kind of a match wherein the person's mindset and skill sets and all that will match the purpose, and then I guess you will know that, okay, this is where I am.
This is it. Okay, great. So, what has been your learning? Summing up all your stories and experiences, entrepreneurship, whereas domain marketer, what has been your learning, which you'd like to give it up?
Um, numbers is very important because as a marketeer, we only think about creativity and the target audience and customer insights. But at the end of it, it is numbers. So I know there are a lot of. In fact, I was also one of those people who have. Um, who have rubbished the other people, business people, saying that he doesn't understand marketing or he doesn't understand communications. Though that might be true, but then it is not his business to understand that. He's being paid for doing something else, and then as long as he does that very well, I think he's fine, right? So if you are a marketeer and then if you are reliant on the other person, like a CEO or a business head, to approve your budgets and various other things, there's no point in ruining about the fact that he doesn't understand. It is your responsibility or it's your job to make him understand. You are paid for that too, not just produce it, and how to
Just
manage things as well. So that
great.
is one thing. Then The other thing is, I think for for so psychology in marketing, so understanding the psychology of the target audience is important, because that is how you know what is the kind of message that will hit them. And then you take a leap from there to making it like really wildly creative so that it stands out. And now you have this technology, the support of technology, the blessing of technology, to understand that, as well as to put it out in the open in various forums, various ways, and
Can
measure these entire things, and then you know what you've done.
great. I think one very important question, which
From the
what
audience
we're
side.
all waiting for, what kind of creatives give you numbers?
So this is my
Sorry.
observation. Okay, so I think there are be three things in the creative. So I'm presupposing you have done all your target segmentation, positioning, everything, right? So in terms of a creative, so when you are doing communication, there are three things for me that I will look for. One is, it has to be attention grabbing, right? I think you had mentioned about the Seth Godin's the he beautifully mentions about this visual
Visual
hammer.
hammer.
Yeah, visual
Yes.
hammer and the verbal nail, right? So when a person is just going through, let's say, magazine, newspapers, or even browsing through these things and all that, um, because people are focused on what they have to do, and then they are not even looking for some ad that is hitting you, and some need that I have. So that ad has to jump out and ask him to look at the ad first. Otherwise, you may have a brilliant benefit, you may have a brilliant photograph, the product and stuff like that. But if it doesn't, if it is not seen by the reader, you don't
The
have
audience.
anything. The
Yeah.
audience, yeah, right.
Mhm.
So that is the first thing, right? And then the second thing
Yes.
is, of course, the narration of benefits through an emotional filter, right? Because if it is a boring benefit narration, I think most of the people get switched off. I think it should be um, something in the emotional, because what happens is, at that point in time, the person may not be in the context, or in the mode of buying, right? You have to put that thing in his head, right? And
Yeah.
whenever the purchase trigger arises, he or she should be thinking about this
Should think
particular
of that brand.
communication.
Yes.
So that
It
will
should be
happen.
direct.
Yeah, that will happen through emotional kind of. So emotions, so human beings are emotional beings, right? They're not rational beings at all. We are.
That's
So as very rightly some famous personality has pointed out, we are not rational beings, we are
emotion.
rationalizers, right?
That's right.
We take decisions based on emotions, and then later we rationalize it. So entire wing of neuroscience and neuromarketing has come out from this thought, and that they're making this the entire communications and various other things um, much more sharp right now, right? And the third thing that I would say is the proof point. So while people have that emotional association with a brand, but then their rational mind inside will definitely be asking the question of, why should I buy this, right? So the proof points should be there very crisply, and so that whenever that purchase trigger happens, the person has every likelihood to consider this particular brand. So that is, in
Beautiful.
my view, what
That makes
we,
sense.
So,
right.
so,
Yes.
so,
So
so
you
what we got, creative should have a very attractive, direct benefit to the audience, right?
Right,
And
right.
third is emotional.
communication.
Right,
Yes,
right, right,
and
right.
proof points.
Proof
Yeah.
points.
The
Yeah.
Very well
the
said.
virtual hammer and visual nail, right?
No, visual
Right.
hammer and verbal nail.
Verbal nail.
So visual is the
Great.
hammer, right? So
Yes.
because we are all being very bored to death, or very like blindsided by um, these same visuals, like a person smiling. You have seen those kinds of ads, right? So people just rush through that, because there is nothing stopping me in that, right? So that's the reason why this
Exactly.
that visual should be unusual, right? The
It is
visual should be
different.
unusual. Yeah,
Hatke.
it should be different, right? Yeah, it should
Different,
have
Different.
yes.
something
Hatke.
Something
Exactly.
catchy.
Right.
Great.
Right. Right.
catchy.
So Santosh, I think we'll have the questions flowing from the audience. But before
Uh,
that, I would want to ask
okay.
you one question on
Here
how,
I
as
want to,
a
Swati,
sorry,
here I
yes,
want to make a statement like the world of marketing is also something hatke, something different. This is
Right.
not, yeah, seriously, this is not the, I mean, there are thousands of WhatsApp group and marketing communities and everything, but we are hatke. Swati, I would like to tell you, like, I like to ask you, like, on last of the session, we will tell that why world of marketing is hatke. Okay.
Sure,
Now,
sure.
sure,
now let's do
sure,
the
Yeah,
question.
because that is very important, because that
yes, you have
sameness,
to be, yeah,
yeah, if you are the same as the others, then what is the value, right? So that's
Yes, yes,
a
absolutely,
yes, yes,
very, very good thought. And I think that should be the foundation for everything, right? How
yes.
different, so that it appeals to a certain audience.
yes.
Audience, wonderful. My last question before we take up the audience.
So I
Now
think,
you are the vice president of marketing,
okay,
and for Fresh to Home, and we are as a market we have a crisis. We are in midst
Right,
of COVID crisis. You
right.
are a food
okay.
chain. How
Yes.
do you deal with this, and how are you? What's your strategy?
Okay, so at Fresh to Home as well as at FTH Daily. FTH Daily is a subscription based e-grocery player. Okay, so all your milk and fruits and vegetables and all that get delivered at our customers' places before 7:30. We call it sunrise delivery. So before you wake up, it's already there at your door. So that is FTH Daily. So both the entities, both the companies have registered around 30 to 50% growth because of this COVID crisis, because people are looking for more safe products, and the fresh to home equity of being the champion of chemical free and fresh and hygienic products actually stand is reflected right now. The impact of that kind of a positioning is reflected right now, where
That's
people are, because people have lots of confidence in the brand, so they're buying
okay.
it, and then they're shunning the other offline segment, right? Offline retail segments, which is something that we have seen in groceries as well, which is what something that we have seen in fish and meat as well. So,
So
and
because you've already set up the standard, it's even better for you now.
absolutely. So I think people are finding that trust factor. Whether it is COVID. So right now in this context of COVID, I think the trust factor with Fresh to Home, because they have been doing this for 5 years, 5.5 years, is pretty high, extremely high, and people are not thinking twice before ordering from Fresh to Home. Because earlier they didn't have too much of a, I think in their mind perhaps a differentiator, but I think that differentiator or the risk that they otherwise would be taking from an offline retail player, they don't want to
Mhm.
take that risk anymore, with respect to this, perhaps. At Fresh to Home, we are also doing that, even otherwise. We were a food safety player, right? Safe food
Mhm.
player, otherwise. That is what our DNA is. That's where the genesis is, right?
That's
So
right.
we have been giving chemical free food, whether it is milk, whether it is fish or meat. Meat is chicken, for example. There are a lot of people who do antibiotics, right, in that, so that
That's
it
right.
doesn't die. The chicken doesn't die. And then that antibiotics comes into the human body, and then it is not really good, right? It plays havoc with our system. So Fresh
Mhm.
to Home has been extremely careful to take that kind of a product which doesn't have the antibiotic
Antibiotic.
residue in
Okay.
them. And
Okay.
also fish for preservation. People do ammonia, formaldehyde, etc., and all that. And then Fresh to Home has been extremely. So that's the reason why our fish and chicken are tender and fresh and all that. So we have been doing that for a long time, right? And then we also maintain cold chain so that it becomes
Okay.
as fresh, because what happens is in room temperature, the temperature increases, the microbial activity increases, right? So every
Mhm.
hour there is some 5 million bacteria that get generated. So but when you are in cold chain, we call it between 0 to 4 degrees, the microbial activity stops, right? So it
Oh,
becomes
okay.
Yeah, so it becomes fresher when it reaches, and we also have vacuum packaging and certification as well. So all our products have certificates from government approved laboratories, neutral laboratories.
Wow.
So especially, so because we have this precedent or the history of food safety in our DNA, we have done all kinds of things possible for this, at this handling this COVID season as well.
Wonderful.
We have, of course, this temperature checks and all the suppliers and the lorries and the trucks and all that are very frequently sanitized. Factory is sanitized, and we have with our CEO monitoring the situation every day. There is an end of day report that goes to our CEO. Our hubs, delivery boys are trained extremely intensely to handle things. So there is mask, there is personal hygiene, hand washing, and all the washing of the surfaces and all that. So we have not done anything. We have not left stones unturned when it came to taking care of the hygiene part.
Great. And most importantly, your trust factor, how well you produce, how you deliver to people, your delivery and your marketing has worked well in crisis as well, right?
That's right. Yeah, right from the
Right.
operations, right from the sourcing, our operations, and the packaging, and of course the delivery.
Come
So
on.
in the entire chain, supply chain, there is one vision that we have, which is to give safe and fresh food to hygienic food to people. Right.
I have a
Wonderful.
question. How did you
So,
communicate this thing to your customer? Like you are keeping all the safety measures, as per the government guidelines up to the most. How did you communicate this at large to your customer?
So
Which
yeah, so
medium?
we have communicated it with. So we have not gone through our Facebook communication as well as on website, and then also we have this
Social media.
banners and all that on the website, SMSs and all that. We have communicated that.
So
So yeah,
basically on social media and digital marketing.
yeah, and digital marketing.
mostly social
Okay,
media. So,
Right.
okay, okay. No BTL.
great.
Yeah, no BTL because
Thank
right
you.
now we
No
don't do
BTL.
BTL, no. Right
Yes,
now
yes. No,
there's no.
there is
Yeah,
no BTL, and digital is
yeah,
the next BTL. Digital is
right.
the
Yeah,
next BTL. What I believe.
yeah,
Yeah.
true. Digital is TTL. No, there is a new terminology. Right?
DTL.
TTL through the line. So
BTL, BTL. Yeah.
everything spanning the BTL and this thing, right? And then so yeah, true.
I mean, there is no BTL. Everything is integrated these days.
Everything is
That's right.
integrated because I
Everything.
don't think
It's
you
an
can be
integrating marketing. Yeah. You can't.
right, right.
You
Because
you can't
ultimately it's a
segment.
channel. So right, yeah. So
Yes.
whatever channel works, because there could be this codependencies or interplay between channels as well, right? So it
That's right.
starts with BTL and then it goes to it starts with digital and it goes towards ends with BTL, for example, right?
Okay.
So
Okay,
Okay.
okay. Digital and then it's the BTL. Wow, good,
right,
good concept. I'll think
right.
about it. So let's go to the audience side. Okay,
Our audience,
one
we have an
audience.
interesting question from Misty. She has a very interesting question, and it's a business question. My
Right.
grandfather started a poultry farm 40 years back, but did not click. I want to start it again. Can we get order from your company? So she's
Yeah.
straight away looking for an order.
So
Swati, your sound is not coming through. You will check your earphone.
So, Santosh,
yeah. So
what advice do you have to give this to aspirational entrepreneur?
I
And
can
how?
definitely give advice on how to make it click, and whether we have to buy from your company is something that we will have to see, because we have very stringent measures on how we buy from our suppliers. There are stringent quality checks. There are lots of processes involved. So I would not guarantee that, but then depending on where your geography is, it is something that we can definitely consider. But I can
They,
freely
they,
give you some tips on how to probably improve your business, and I'll be happy if it works.
they are from the hinterland of Maharashtra, from Sangli. Okay,
Maharashtra,
and
Sangli.
yes, Sangli. Okay, and they want to become your partner.
Sure,
So
sure. So send me a
how do
mail
they?
on santosh@fresh2home.com, santosh@fresh2home.com, and I'll make sure that it's considered.
Uh,
Great.
Someone
So
from the
can we
backend
take the
team
next
can.
question? Sorry.
Swati, just a minute. Swati, just a minute. Someone from the backend team can please, highlight this email ID on the screen. Okay, so that the Misty Kushlan, they can get this and they can get in touch with Santosh
Santosh,
sir.
you'll be flooded now.
Okay. Yes, why not? Yes.
No, I would be happy because if it
Great.
is win-win, it is great.
That's nice.
Good. Yes.
So we
Swati, next
have
question.
more questions from YouTube and FB. Um, can we have the next question? All right. So this is from Business
Chirag.
is Everybody's Dreams. Chirag.
Chirag,
Business
Chirag,
is
Chirag.
everybody's dreams. Few succeed and few fail. Irrespective of the fact that they are educated or not, according to you, what must be the factors that help them succeed or take them to failure?
I don't think you want to know what is taking them to failure. I think, yeah, success mantras is what you are looking for. So, as I said, I don't think there is any secret behind this, right? So, one is, of course, hard work, and hard work by itself may not be good enough. So, there is one driving, motivating factor behind hard work, which is purpose. Without purpose, you will work hard for 2 days, 3 days, but then after that, you will stop. Money, it has been proven that may not be a great motivator over long term. So I think I remember the words of Rajesh Ralan, ex-MD of MetLife. So he said that there has to be a bigger purpose behind the work purpose should be bigger than just the monthly salary. Or he was a CEO, so he always said that there has to you have to believe in a bigger purpose of what in the context of what you're doing, right? So
Oh,
I think that is extremely important.
yes.
The second is, of course, there are lots of hardships, there are lots of things, so you have to be persistent. You have to be at it. The third thing is you have to be smart with respect to business development, marketing. You need to know the tools of the trade. Influencer marketing is something that it has worked with for us when we were doing business big time, because it's pretty cheap, and it because most of the people do not believe a brand when they say it, but then when somebody else says it, a third party says it, and if it is coming from a trusted third party, it is much more likely
More.
that a person will believe this. So we have had this thing with very very small in our locality, in Facebook groups and various other things, through doctors and gym
Oh,
instructors, family people who are socially active. So we used to give things and stuff like that, and then used to get them to write about us. So that
nice.
is yeah. So influencer marketing is or influencer generated activity is something that I think a lot of people perhaps have not attached enough importance as it deserves. Um, I think, and then of course you need to know your numbers, your cash flow, and the rate of growth.
Growth.
And I guess um, the other thing would be, I think networking also is an important thing. So if it is a mentor or other people with complementary skill sets. So this is a generic question, so I'm generally giving a generic answer as well. But I think these things are extremely important. There could be other attributes that are required.
So great. So we have a next question from Parichay. He asks, do you think technology plays a key role in customer segmentation?
You can use technology to decipher and break it down, but ultimately customer segmentation would be dependent on the customer's demographics as well as psychographics, right? Your the customers, one, the age and various other things, right? Male female stuff, and then would be your opinions, values, lifestyles, and attitudes. So there could be very very powerful segmentations that can be done through these two important segments. And of course, yes, right now technology assists us to do that very easily, much better than what used to be done before.
Great. We have one more question from Harsh, and he asks, does pandemic has changed the consumer pattern, and if yes, is it going to be permanent?
Unfortunately, yes. There have been lots of reports from McKinsey and lots of other agencies that have established the fact that, yeah, the customer spending or customer purchase patterns will change irrevocably. Um, it especially when it comes to there will be more of digital e-commerce. E-commerce will see a fillip.
Flourish.
Yeah,
Mm.
and the offline players will so right now you can see, in fact, a lot of supermarkets have actually dropped by 67% revenues, right?
That's right.
After this
Footfalls have
e-commerce, yeah, e-commerce has increased. And the other one more point is the health. Okay, so safety and health, as I said, sometime back I was talking about how fresh to home has witnessed large numbers and revenues and orders, right? So the health and safety aspect of brands, so people will start trusting more of those brands who are safe and trustworthy in their communication and their products and all that. And people will, of course, question those brands. They will re-evaluate uh, the brand's trust quotient as well, and they will demand answers in terms of proofs why you have been saying this, but then why are you saying this? So I think brands have a big job to do to showcase the proof points of why they are doing what they are doing. The third thing
okay.
would be less of outside ready-made food. Ready-to-eat food consumption will perhaps go down because of the coming together of two factors. One is this job uncertainty and financial
Okay.
uncertainty of the future. So they will just do pare down and then try to start cooking things so that it's
Cooking.
less expensive. And also the notion of contamination, the unhygienic practices that restaurants are doing. It's a perception, but then you never know whether it's true or not. So, but people would not want to take that risk, so they'll just pare down their
Okay.
out of home consumption and even ready to eat kind of food.
Okay. Great. Thanks. I hope that was answered for you. Chirag again has asked that how much do you think finance or a capital plays a role in making a brand? Now, since you've been an entrepreneur and you've made a brand with minimal, uh, you could answer this the best.
Right. So brand, for example, when I was doing Centimeter, I would not call it a brand, but then it was a kind of a local in that kind of in those localities. It was very very aspirational kind of a brand. But then that all those things we did without a rupee of spend, right? By
Wow.
doing various tactics, digital as well as I talked about the social media and influencers campaigns. So it is possible, but in a customer, I mean, if you have to take it in a bigger scale, if it is a customer brand, then I think, yeah, without and depends on the competition as well. Without capital, you will not be able to do it. You have to do a little bit of investments. But there are lots of brands like a B2B brand, which has done extremely well without any advertising. So it depends on what kind of a brand and what kind of target audience you have.
Okay. So, Parichay has one more question for you. Mr. Santosh, you mentioned about three corners. First one you mentioned is a purpose. And then what are the other two
Yeah, so for
of
success, this
business?
is what I believe. Yes. So there has to be a purpose, and there has to be skill set, right? No, before that, you find a purpose, but there is no market need, right? And then
That's right.
probably the purpose doesn't generate enough of audience and enough of business, and it will not sustain itself. So this is important. That market need is important. Market maturity for such a need is also very important. But if both are there, but then if you do not have skill sets, then you will not be able to do justice to it. So you need to have skill sets in at least two critical areas of what you are doing. For example, in my venture, I was confident of marketing, and then I was confident of kind of business, right, or people management. Um, there were other extremely good people who had a good understanding of HR and food, because food is very important. That handling of food, expertise, and understanding of how to manage food is very important. So I didn't have a clue about that, but then my partner had that, and another person was very strong in operations. So
So right mix. You had
right mix. That complementarity is very, very important. So yeah, I hope I answered your question.
Great. Thank you. We have a question from Shivalika. What factors should we consider when going through each step of our entrepreneurial methodology or journey?
What factors do we consider when going through each step of our entrepreneur? Okay, so when you start as an entrepreneur, there are a few things that you have already done, right? You have done your business plan, you have done your metrics, you have done your analyzed your target audience, your branding, right, identity, and this is the kind of communication, this is the need I'm filling up, right? So once that is done, then it is the everyday operations part. Operations is very important because that is what is a sustainer, right? So everyday operations, and then there are some key metrics that you will always want to check, right? The monitoring of key metrics every day, at the end of every week, at the end of 2 weeks, and that kind of thing, right? So you have to decide on some business metrics as well as marketing and customer metrics. So satisfaction would be one important metric, and under satisfaction there are 2 3 metrics that you can gauge. Under marketing and business development, you know how much that you're doing. Under business, then you will follow financials, like your gross margin and how is your operating profits going, how is your CM1, CM2, etc. um, and of course there would be an end goal. So if you have to see those milestones, and you will have to see at the end of every month, and then see how it, and then tweak it otherwise, if it is good. And also you have to understand the seasonal challenges. A market like India, there are lots of seasonalities, when it comes to seasonalities compared to when it comes to consumption. So
that's right. So I hope, Shivalika, that was answered for you. You have, I think we'll go for one last question with a lot of questions coming from audience. Yashmi has a question. What one should keep in mind while creating a marketing strategy for a small business?
So marketing strategy for a small business, I don't understand the word strategy, but yes. Of course, as I said, that you have to analyze your competition, you have to understand the customers, you have to segment them into various things. You have to understand what your brand is, your brand identity, and then you do the messaging, and then you do the channels, right? Which are the channels? So first month, when after launch, these are the channels that because you are also trying whether your product, the sourcing is good, your operations is good. So you do not want to really go whole hog in the first month itself. So first month is learning and stuff like that, right? Depending on what kind of a brand it is. And second month you go a little more, and that is when you understand that yes, this is sustainable. So you go ahead and that is when you actually do a lot of, there are lots of these kinds of frugal ways of marketing. So you have your PR strategy, you have your marketing communication strategy, you have your events, you have your alliances, and the strategy, right? So there are like Danto and various other things. So you have all these things, right?
But for a small business, for a small company, it is advisable to keep a separate marketing department, a marketing manager, and a separate marketing budget, or
you will not
keep a 3% of sales, entire thing to do all those marketing activities.
So it depends on. So we didn't have any of these kinds of departments. So we were doing everything from sweeping to delivery to marketing to digital. Everything we us were doing, right? So when you're a startup, you probably would not have the wherewithal or the resources to do everything in a segmented kind of a manner. But once you touch probably some 50 crores and stuff like that, then I think that is when you start doing things like, then you will have a person for let's say digital marketing. I think that would be probably the easiest and stuff like that, because the other things we can. So we had actually done the same thing that I was saying. So yeah, so initially that probably would be because the overheads might be too high, and then you will find yourself at crossroads at the end of the month, whether that makes sense or not.
So Yashmin, I think you got your answer. You first cross the 50 crores, then you keep a marketing manager for that.
So who's starting business? Everyone is starting business now.
Yeah. I think you motivated enough. So you can leave a cushy job and become an entrepreneur now. That's great. And just live by the purpose. Purpose will chase you.
Yeah, true. Purpose will chase you. Can't run away from it.
Great. It's wonderful to have you on the show, Santosh. And I'm sure a lot of marketers learned a lot of lessons of marketing and entrepreneurship, and how to work with different domains with an empty mind, and fill it with new knowledge.
Unlearn and learn every day, right?
How to unlearn and learn.
Unlearn,
Yes.
right.
Right.
I think that's what
for
triggered
having
you
me.
Yes,
Thanks,
it is
Ashish.
indeed a pleasure.
Great.
We wanted to have all the people behind the scene to, we wanted to thank all of them in the show as well. So they're not seen on the screen, so we just thought we'll just let them give them a big thank you, and while putting them on screen. Is it good to go? We have technicals. Chirag has been pressing a lot of buttons for us. Chirag, Yashmi has stayed late nights and prepared everything. Thank you, Chirag.
Yeah, hi. Good.
So thanks for creating windows and working tirelessly on the show.
Yeah. It's a pleasure working with World of Marketing always. It's a vibrant team, which makes always everything possible and new initiatives.
Yeah, I can see that. I can see that. I can see the energy.
Yes,
energy.
The team and the vibration is very, very positive.
The man with the hat is the creative.
Yes.
Shivalika?
Sushil, Ivan is amazing creatives you would see in most of our shows. Shivalika is the digital expert, content and digital, and she's been really, keeping her peace of mind while doing her work and handling all kind of situations.
Shivalika, I want you to say a few words. Please, Shivalika.
Well, please continue, Swati.
Yes, please, Shivalika.
No, say a few words.
But if you talk about few words, I have many words, but let's speak about few words. Let's let me tell you something about my journey in WM. Being a part of WM has given me an opportunity and global experience, so that I can connect with a few or many of these stalwarts, because we all are stalwarts in our different fields. And unfortunately, soon after I joined WM, we were hit by this pandemic, and we were all locked in our homes. And I can assure you, WM can take out that cushion behind your head anytime, and it can tell you to work 24/7. And we all are so happy to work, or to burn that midnight oil. And it has given us pleasure, it has given us so many connections, good connections. And marketing is our bloodline. For this is what world of marketing is all about. And our devilish grins, what we are smiling right now, actually speaks volumes about our madness for it. So I'm really happy to be a part of WM. So few words. There are many, but let's speak about few.
Very impactful. You said it all.
Shivalika, Shivalika, why we are different?
we are different. What we are doing is different. It's not easy to have this warmcast every weekend, and but we are doing it. We are kicking everybody's ass, and we are doing it. So,
Great going, great going.
and we are a
Great.
global community, and we are doing it, and I'm happy to be a part of it.
Good.
Great.
Yeah,
Okay.
Sushil sir.
Thank you, Shivalika. It's not a few words. You said it all.
Thank you.
Now a girl who's been working late nights and having sleepless night behind the Warmcast, Yashmi's picture's not there.
Yeah, she's coming. She'll come on
Sushil
screen.
sir,
Hi
want
Yashmi,
to say
thank
something?
you for
Yeah, yeah,
everything.
Thank you.
She's
Nice to
she's
see you all.
just great.
Okay.
So
Yashmi, you want to say something about your journey?
Well, lots to say, but I would say that every day, every experience in each domain teach you, make you a better professional. And as you grow and convert yourself into a leader, you definitely craft that and make it reality. So it's still an ongoing journey. I'm still learning, and we all of us are. So not much to say. With time, we will come to know where are we still. And at Warm, definitely, we're looking forward to do more, better, beautiful conversation with great leaders. And I want the world to watch it. So we'll make it big.
great. Wonderful. Thank you, everybody. We are missing Parichay. Is Parichay
Uh,
coming online?
Swati,
He's not
we
able
have
to come.
Jag and we have Sushil. Let them speak something. Yes,
Oh,
Jag.
yes.
Yeah, so world of marketing, has given me a different kind of experience altogether. So I belong to a different background, which I'm able to even correlate here and help the team which is there. So here we have people across the globe, and yes, a lot of learning, and the experience gets imparted from them directly. So if you're a maybe 10-year-old experienced person, you become a 50-year-old experienced person with a group of people here, just in a fraction of one meet
Wow.
interactions that you do. So it
True
makes
that.
a lot of difference being in part of this
True that.
community. And yes, it gives us a lot of opportunity to learn a lot of new things. We stand in the front, we learn from speakers, we learn from eminent people who are coming on screen, like Mr. Santosh right now has given us ideas with respect to, starting a business and stuff like that. So it is a phenomenal journey that we are together, and the team keeps becoming bigger and bigger. So it's a great opportunity I've got, and thank you to Warm always and forever.
Thank you so
Sushil sir.
much, Chirag. It's indeed inspiring. Sushil, the hat man, the creative, the man behind all the creatives.
Thank you. Okay. So here, something we need to understand. Okay, there should be some interest, the dedication we should have. Whatever we are stepping in, whatever we're working, we have to be dedicated. That is what I was being here. This world of marketing has created an interest to me. It gave me a dedication to work for it. Okay, so actually, I'm every week I'm introduced to new people, new what to say, new personalities, and I don't know how I'm working the whole night. So I used to
We
work
all
difficult.
Sushil.
No, I used to sleep very early, but nowadays I don't know. That is the interest that been created to me, and that dedication I'm having. So it's a good experience, and it is just flowing like ocean to me. It is just passing on,
wonderful.
going on, going on, going on. I don't think so. I have learned it. Thanks a lot, World of Marketing. Yeah, Ashish
Thank you,
and
Sushil. Thank you for swimming along with all of us in the ocean.
Thank
And thank you, Santosh, for coming here and enlightening each and every marketer with your experience and sharing your journey, multi-domain journey, entrepreneurship journey. I'm sure we all have learned so much. Thank you. And we've already
Pleasure is
exceeded
mine.
15 minutes from our scheduled time. That means we really went pretty good.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you,
Thanks
Ashish,
all.
the man behind Warm. Thank you so much. He's been really an inspiration. Me and Ashish, we just started with, when he started, I think there were only 9 members. And then he was at it and he grew the whole, markets as a world of marketing into a large organization in many countries. So quite a talent. Many things to learn from him.
So before closing, I have to talk about the sponsors. Just
Yes.
2 minutes. Okay. I have to find out the names, huh? सर आप ऐड करा सकते हो तब तक. Okay. So now time for our sponsors. Hosting partner, Visionary Technology Company, Nigeria. BTL partner, RN Enterprises, Pune. Strategy partner, Taylor's Book, Pune. Consulting and digital partner, the Thalos Digital Services, Delhi. Marcom partner, Thinkcom, Marketing and Media Services Private Limited. Technology partner, Skyware Technology, Nigeria. Okay.
Right.
And yeah, one more thing, like World of Marketing, we have a similar community, World of HR. So I welcome to all HR enthusiasts to come and join this community. It is a place where we can share the job information, encourage and appreciate an achievement of HR professionals, and get them among the HR fraternity and other HR related stuff. So link will be shared in the comment and about this section, the live video on YouTube and Facebook page. Okay, and we have one more initiative that is called Meet My Mentor. Okay, we are going to start a series called Meet My Mentor, and it will be a tribute to your first boss, your teacher, or someone who has made a little different in your life at some point of time. Okay, so in this, you simply ask your mentor about, you can tell them to share his or her journey, challenges, success, lessons, anything. It's a tribute to them. Okay, you can ask him to share some incidents and stories. It's a goodwill gesture towards our mentor. Meet my mentor. So if interested, please let me know the availability of them and the name and other details. Yes, language strictly in mother tongue. If it's Hindi, it's Marathi, it's Bengali, it's Tamil, it's Telugu, it's French, anything, but it's a mother tongue. Okay, not English. So that's it. Why we are different and why we call ourselves beyond networking. Shati, if you have time, so can I tell this or maybe in the next session? Okay. So
We've crossed 20 minutes over our time.
We'll do it to the next season. So I'm just asking, we'll meet next Sunday, same time, same platform, same time, 7:30. Okay. Till then, thank you. Yes, Swati. Over to you.